Hi.
What's up, YouTube land? It's your boys, both of us.
So we're here with Remember the Wii? Remember the Wii U?
Oh, yeah.
Remember Metroid Other M?
So I will say, all things considered, us being in a game store at all times, the Wii has been much more popular than, say, 5 years ago, you know? Like, I get people coming in waxing nostalgic, mostly for, like, the Mario games or whatever, but the one recently that's been crazy nostalgia is Mario Super Sluggers. Everyone's like, remember Super Sluggers?
They haven't done a baseball Mario game in 13, 14 years.
Yeah. It's crazy. So, Metroid has another game coming out.
Yeah, that's kind of why we're playing this. I'm really not sure if this is going to be a full sit-down or not. While this game is interesting to talk about and baffling and amusing, it's also boring, which we'll get into later. Because when you're not getting slapped in the face, you're just running down, like, boring halls.
So is this, like, all things considered, is this kind of like a Last of Us 2 kind of thing, where they're like, oh, you like this character, huh? Well, let's just make her as hateable as possible, or make your experience as hateable as possible kind of thing.
Unlike Last of Us 2, which wanted to paint Joel and Ellie as morally questionable in what they did in the first game, this game is adding character to Samus to make her a more relatable, likable character, but the end result is just the most confused mess. People are so mad about this game for so long. Nintendo doesn't even, like, talk about this game anymore. They don't bring it up ever.
You know what would have helped is if they came out with a single game in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Like 3D Mario. Or 3D Metroid, excuse me.
Since Other M came out, of course, Metroid Dread just got announced a week or two ago. But since Other M, all we've had is Federation Forces, which is barely even a Metroid game. It's literally just a spin-off title. And a remake of Metroid 2, which was fine. I didn't really like it that much, but I thought it was decent.
I oftentimes forget that Federation Force even exists.
Yeah,
it's like if you're like, what's the last Castlevania game to come out?
Talk about the most...
Like the 3DS one, I forget about it, you know?
Talk about the most tone-deaf decision possible. So you have Other M, which came out in 2010, and then the series is dead for 6 years. Complete radio silence. The series, like, brainchild Sakamoto basically was like, I'm done with Metroid. And then after 6 years, you're like, here's your spin-off 3DS multiplayer-only title. It's like, people were so mad. And of course they released Metroid 2 remake.
Yeah, but
the year after.
The worst part about that is then they had to cease and desist that one guy who was making he was making his own remake, and they're like, no!
Thank God that actually got finished and released before he got CND'd. Yeah. Because if it happened before, he legally would not be allowed to release that game. And yeah, you should check that game out. It's a game I've always wanted to LP, but we'll maybe get to it. But it's really good. So, Other M is a game that takes place between Super and Fusion, which Fusion, as of right now, up until Dread comes out, is the last canonical game in the Metroid timeline. Still, Fusion came out in 2002. It's almost 20 years now. But Dread is finally advancing the story after 20 years, and I am dreading it.
Yeah. I mean, people seem pretty hyped. I don't know.
I'm hyped about it.
It's
made by the same guys who made the Metroid 2 remake, Mercury Steam, and the game was decent. It was competent, and unfortunately, it looks like Dread uses like the same sort of lackluster animations for like Samus's somersault, which I really didn't like. But hopefully, it's better. We'll see.
Thanks to the hyper beam, which was given to me somehow by the baby. I laid Mother Brain to waste.
Somehow, Palpatine is back.
The explosion that followed destroyed.
The funny thing is that Samus's voice actor is so deadpan and emotionless that it is bad voice acting. But however, it's like the perfect voice actor for this terrible script of this confused, horrible character that Samus is now. It's like perfect voice actor choice.
I'm surprised this game doesn't get at least a little bit of love, because Samus is thick.
I think real Metroid fans hate Zero Suit Samus.
Oh, okay.
Zero Suit Samus is the one in the blue
Yeah.
And Sakamoto has been obsessed with Zero Suit Samus ever since she was like a very small cameo in Fusion. And then literally in the Metroid 1 remake, Zero Mission in 2004, they added an entire endgame section with just her, without her suit. It's like a stealth section. It's like, why did you add this? So whenever people are just like, Zero Mission's the best Metroid game, I'm just like, do you remember the ending of that game? Alright, so, where do you even begin with this game? So this game was developed by Team Ninja, who, makes, like, the Dead or Alive games and Ninja Gaiden. So, over, like, the 2000s, they released amazing games. Like, Ninja Gaiden Black is probably one of the best character action games of all time. And that was in 2005. And then just in 5 short years, they make this game, then Ninja Gaiden 3 the year after. Just 2 horrible flops. It's just amazing.
Did they make any other Nintendo exclusives?
I know Tecmo.
Did they make Wonderful 101, or am I thinking of another company?
That's Platinum.
Platinum.
Nintendo exclusives.
Platinum is completely separate from Team Ninja, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're not in any way... Okay.
Yeah, Platinum was a splinter off of Capcom.
Okay.
And, no, had no relation with Tecmo or Team Ninja
Got
at
it,
all.
got it.
So, one of the weirdest thing about this game is the way you control it. You only use one Wiimote used sideways. So basically you're playing it like an NES controller with a few extra buttons. And you have to do a 3D action game with just this. So they simplify the controls a lot. And some actions like dodging are like almost automated. They're not really, but they feel like it.
Do people like Metroid Prime 3?
Yeah. I personally... I like it until it gets to that point where it's like, hey, go back and find these objects to get to the final end game place, which is what all the Prime games do.
Yeah.
But Prime 3 felt like the worst, and I've only beaten that game once because of it.
So, the top 3 Metroid games, Super Metroid, most people would probably put 1, then probably Metroid Prime, then probably Metroid Fusion.
Yeah, Metroid Fusion, I think's opinion has gotten better, but...
I thought people loved that game.
It's mostly because Fusion does have some problems. I really like the game, but... Ooh, find him.
Look around!
Yeah, so the entire first-person point of this game, where you switch your Wiimote to looking at the controller or the TV to do the like missiles and stuff, it is so awkward.
I'm going to lay a unpopular opinion about Metroid. Are you going to deal with it? Out there in YouTube land? Comment below if you disagree. Metroid 1 sucks. Bad. It was important. It was an important game.
I think against most other NES games, it's not bad, but...
Well, people consider it like a classic. They're like, oh, Metroid. Super Metroid, yeah. It's not my type of game, but I can definitely see.
Yeah.
Metroid Prime, I've played it. It's awesome.
It's like the same people that say that Zelda 1's a masterpiece. It's like,
not even
it was
close.
A landmark title, but do you really want to
Yeah, there's a difference between being very important and being good, and it's not good. And I don't even think it was good back then. We had it. We had it growing up, and I only ever got like 5 minutes in. Get good, right? But Metroid 1, Metroid 2 on the Game Boy is essentially unplayable. I don't know how anyone can play that.
Yeah, Metroid 2 is pretty rough to play. I would still rather play than Metroid 1, but
yeah.
Metroid only became good with Super Metroid.
So, now that another Metroid game is definitely coming out...
I wondered if this too was a result of the power the baby gave me.
Shut up. Whenever she says
I'm
the
this guy.
baby...
The baby Metroid?
Yeah, the baby Metroid she saved at the end of Metroid 2 that saved her at the end of Super Metroid. And now she's so obsessed with it. The game's literally called Other M, which obviously if you put the M in front of Other, it's Mother. So they want to make Samus into this mother figure, and it just doesn't work.
I was today years old when I thought about Other M being Mother. I never thought about that.
It's
also
not like anyone ever talks about this game.
Yeah, and it's not like it's not like I ever think about Other M.
This game is just baffling.
The only time I ever think about it is when we get it traded in and I'm like, surely it's got to be more than $10, and guess what? It's not.
Absolutely no one wants it.
Not even collectors. They're like, meh.
It's not like Other M like flopped. Metroid games have never sold that well, but I'm pretty sure that Metroid Other M like approached like 500,000 sales, maybe closer to 1 million. So it's not like it's rare.
Yeah.
Days went by in their quiet way. People's recollections of Metroids and space pirates grew nebulous over time, relegated to a past concern of the galactic communities. Nothing more than a faded memory.
I don't really have a problem with her voice, just the way she talks is so lame.
Yeah, it's so emotionless.
Babies cry. A common SOS with the urgency of a baby crying.
Wow, talking about babies again.
The fact that the purpose of the signal is to draw attention. The signal was coming from a remote part of space. I altered the course of my ship as if this detour had already been part of my flight plan.
What are you talking about?
Babies cry. It was as though it was crying specifically for me.
Because bravo, Sakamoto. This script is A+.
What's other stuff that he wrote? that would be...
I don't want to trash on Sakamoto, because he is Nintendo old guard. He literally has been making games for Nintendo since the early 80s, before the original NES came out. Like, I'm pretty sure he was like a designer behind, like... It was like Ice Climbers, or Balloon Jump, or... I don't know. I think he also worked on Donkey Kong Jr. Like, that's how old guard he is. And, like, he did direct Super Metroid and Metroid Fusion and some other titles, and he produces a whole lot of games. But Other M is the last game he written, produced, and directed all on his own.
Rip. I gotta be honest, if I, like, spent a whole lot of time writing, producing, and directing a game, and all that people did online was, like, hate it and complain about it, I'd probably be like, I'm good. Like, if I didn't need it to, like, survive anymore, and clearly he doesn't, like, clearly he should be good money-wise, I'd be like, I'm done.
Dude, that's what he did for 7 years. He was like, I'm done with Metroid.
Dude, that's what happened to freaking John Carpenter. When The Thing came out, people were like, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, I guess I won't make masterpieces anymore.
The major difference is that the Thing is a masterpiece, and this game is a pile of garbage.
I guess that is a good point.
So you gotta kind of differentiate between suffering geniuses and suffering hacks.
Rip.
And I don't even want to say Sakamoto's a hack. It's just that I've watched interviews or read interviews and like watched videos about this game like so many times. And it's one of those games that like you can look back on bad games with sometimes like rushed development or like a really bad studio or meddling like higher ups messing with the game to be like, oh, this is the reason why the game's bad. But as far as you can tell, God, thank God I remembered that. Some of those, if you don't know exactly what you're looking for in those search sections, it is so specific, and you can be like looking around for minutes on end.
Well, that's why I kind of brought up the Last of Us thing, because Last of Us 2 did not, for any reason, none of the issues you mentioned were issues. It was actually more of the, what's the guy's name? Oh man, I forget.
Neil Druckmann. Druckmann.
Like, he almost had too much power and was just like, I'll do what I want. You know what I mean? So that's my question is, like, in a way, is it kind of like that?
I mean, I guess with Neil Druckmann having complete creative control and, like, doing everything, yes.
I mean, he had, like, 8 years to do it, and, like, at no point Naughty Dog was like, it's gotta come out, you know?
So here's the thing about Last of Us 2. I know that some things about the plot and characters are pretty
Federation Army.
polarizing to say the least. Last of Us 2 is still like a pretty good game and masterfully crafted.
I played it the whole way through, and the story's stupid, but like the gameplay is like good. It's a good game.
The environments, the graphics, the voice acting, the gameplay are all great.
But also my former superior.
But
and I guess this one isn't.
This one has none of that.
There was a time when I was enrolled in the Galactic Federation.
Okay, so kind of explaining what's going on.
When I was young and inexperienced.
Samus is thick out of 10.
I left.
Yeah, they make her suit really feminine in this game, and I hate it.
She's like literally an hourglass.
You'll see
her like whatchamacallit, like midriff is like impossible.
Yeah. There's some portions where you're slow walking and the camera's behind you, and you can just see the suit's thighs, and it's like, why did you make it like this?
What's the guy's name? Sakamoto?
Yeah.
Did he like watch The Incredibles and was like, yes, thank you.
This is incredible is incredible.
Every dad's like, yes. Or no, wait, did he watch Dexter's Laboratory and was like, Dexter's mom, huh?
Dude, he binged that and Fairly Odd Parents.
Yeah.
And he was like, let's make other M.
That's it. Although Team Ninja literally is the team that makes friggin' Dead or Alive, right?
Yeah, obviously.
So...
They are very good at sculpting specific plasticine doll type women.
Did Dead or Alive had a game like somewhat recently, and I swear to God I didn't hear a single thing about it.
Yeah, Dead or Alive.
Was it 7 or 6?
I think 6
I think it's
just came
6.
out.
I think it's 6.
Dead or Alive has never been like a very good fighting game series, but especially recently it's been selling itself off with like sex appeal type of stuff, like a lot of microtransactions around costumes. But Dead or Alive 6, they had like a thing where they wanted to pander to the West more, so they got rid of all the fan service. So instead of having like a game that's mediocre that Coomers buy, you have a mediocre game that no one buys.
Rip. I'm pretty sure that during the original Xbox, that's when it was at its biggest. And also when they made 2 volleyball games. 2! Not 1, 2.
They made 3 overall. There's one for the original Xbox and the 360 and now the PS4.
You're right, they did make 3.
The PS4 one never got localized outside of Asia because of the same like Western.
Do you ever think about how the late original Xbox and early Xbox 360 era was like, I don't know what you want to call it, I guess the Coomer. Like literally, there are so many games like BMX XXX, the Guy game,
it's like, yeah,
Leisure Suit Larry, Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball, and then like literally like near the end of the 360 era, it was like never again. Like what's the last game that came out like that?
Like nothing.
Like nothing. Yeah.
The early to mid 2000s was the edgy like sex appeal days. And then those died out pretty quick.
Yeah, and I mean, I guarantee there's more that I'm not thinking of. But, like, just off the top of my head, that's, like, a whole bunch of games that are just, like, like, made for literally Beavis and Butthead. I think about that once in a while. Like, I think we had BMX XXX traded in, and I was like, this game exists. This game was made. And, like, it wasn't like the Guy game where it was, like, literally $20,000 to make it. And whatever, it was like it's not a game. It was like a game that they're like, hey, remember Dave Mirra? Well, yeah.
He's here and he's doing stuff.
There's more to it now, baby. God bless you, Team Ninja. Someone needs to keep the...
Yeah, it's unfortunate because they make some genuinely amazing games like Ninja Gaiden Black and Ninja Gaiden 2, even though it's not as good as Black or even really that close. It's still a great game.
And you know what the worst part is? Not only do they not come out with the games like Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball, but they literally nerf people who, I guess it would be mostly women, who, in fact, probably entirely women, who, like, were made for that. Like Lara Croft now is like, nope. Lara Croft is no longer, like, what she was. She is, like, plain Jane as humanly possible. They're like, nope. Tifa and FF7, they're like, nope. Get out of here, boy. Or an FF7 remake.
I think Tifa still looks good, but they obviously had to nerf her assets.
Adam? Who's Adam? A computer?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so talking about the plot of this game.
This gameplay looks cool.
the unfortunate thing is that it's all Flash, no substance at all.
Okay.
It's hard to explain, but since you play with just like basically an NES controller, things are very automated in terms of when you shoot. As long as you're in the like a cone region, like around Samus, she will automatically shoot stuff in front of her.
So it's like a 2.5D, like a Klonoa?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay.
But Klonoa is like more of just like a 2D platformer. This one you can move up and down.
Okay.
But it's hard to explain because it is sort of like it's
Can you move left to the right now? Or
yeah.
Oh, okay. So you can move in 360.
You see how like the camera like switches all the time to not be directly behind Samus? She's always like stuck in an 8-way grid.
Oh man.
So it's one of those things that it is so hard to explain but feels awful.
It's a very, I mean, me watching it, it's a very cool look.
Yeah. That's why, like, I think we might be able to do a full sit-down, because this game isn't, like, super long if you just blitz through everything, which I'm not doing 100% for this game. Screw that.
I'm the one who does the stupid games that are impossible to beat on LPs.
Because I think this game is... I hope I can turn on subtitles.
What is this purple bug?
Yeah. A lot of the monster designs in this are very cartoony.
It was obvious that there was some pervasive danger throughout the facility. I didn't know what had brought Adam here, but I did know that cooperation was imperative if we were to restore...
Is Dread... I literally haven't watched a single thing on it. Is it only 2D?
Yeah, it's like a 2.5D game.
Okay.
But unlike this, it's like just 2D.
Okay.
It might be too dangerous for the men to go alone. That's why
It definitely looks interesting, but they barely showed anything off despite it coming out in like 4 months.
Why does no one else... Everyone else takes their helmets off, and she's like, no.
That's because you can see her eyes through her visor constantly now.
Yeah.
And I hate it. Like, the Metroid Prime games did that sort of, to a much lesser extent. Alright, let's see if I can turn on...
Dude, GameCube games had soul.
I don't know how to change settings.
Go to the menu, we'll figure this out. Alright.
It's just, I don't know what...
Select status. The thread of Metroids.
I know it's a Nintendo game, so there's going to be no subtitles, which is very unfortunate.
That's cool. This game came out in like the 2010s.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo does not operate on timelines.
Someone today was like, "Hey, I have a question. Why does Nintendo not support virtual whatever console on Switch?" And I was like, "That's a really good question that no one has an answer for."
It's like you might think that the answer is Nintendo Switch Online to get people to buy it, but it's only $20 a year, and people are gonna buy it anyway, even without free games. And now that the retro games are like locked on it, and they don't add anything to the service at all, like almost at all.
And it's not like they have like a billion games to choose from that are Nintendo specifically made. I'm not talking about like Metal Gear, like literally Nintendo made games. Like, come on, man. I don't understand them. It's like they print money, but they could be like Disney printing money, and they're just not on that level.
Yeah, Nintendo. What can you say about Nintendo? They are one of my favorite companies and one of my most despised companies. They are just like, sometimes they just make games, and it's just like, they make a Mario Odyssey, and you're just like, man, this is just Nintendo. No one can do it like them. But at the same time, they do stuff that just makes you want to cry on frustration.
Or they're like, oh, I was going to ask earlier, now that a Metroid game's coming out, what is the series of Nintendo that has the longest time in between games? Like,
oh, probably F-Zero.
F-Zero, I was thinking, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like coming up on 20 years.
GX, I think there was one on the Advance that came out like a year after it, but
yeah.
If that's 2004, I mean, it's been...
At least 15.
Yeah.
I mean, Is Mother as a series done, or is that something they like? Is like the story just done, or is that something that they would like make more?
None of the Mother games really have like connecting stories that much. Between Mother 2 and Mother 3, there's some characters, but it doesn't really matter.
It's got to be F-Zero then, especially now that they made.
Mother 3 came out in 2006, so it loses to F-Zero.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that.
What year did I say? 2006?
2006.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2006.
Yeah. Huh.
Commander Adam Malkovich was normally cool and not one to joke around. He would end all of his mission briefings by saying, "Any objections, lady?"
Okay, so we gotta talk about the plot of this game.
The others weren't.
So this game takes place in between Super Metroid and Fusion, which Fusion takes place like years in the future compared to Super Metroid.
And yet with Adam, I was
And throughout Fusion, there's some monologue parts where Samus talks about this character called Adam Malkovich being a commander that she served under in the Federation. And it was really baffling because you had this game about Samus being trapped in a space station with a parasitic organism that has like rapidly evolves and has like insane intelligence. But while that's happening, you also have this plot about her remembering Adam from years ago, and she just keeps bringing it up, and you're like, where is this going? And it's hard to explain where it does go, but Adam is an AI.
Okay. Why is everyone giving thumbs up? Is it just because it's Japan?
Because Samus is the one that does thumbs down.
Okay, Gladiator.
She's so not spiteful. She's so
Wait. So you're saying Metroid Fusion and Metroid,
And I was angry.
Dread? That's the name, right?
Yeah. Dread takes place after Fusion.
So you're telling me that the Samus and Metroid Dread is like mom tier?
We don't know, because Samus in Fusion is fine, other than her monologues randomly about Adam. But even when Adam like shows herself, she's still like relatively fine. It's really just this game where she's like ruined.
Adam knows my past, and he knows me better than anyone else.
I love you, Adam.
The frustrating thing about this game is that while the idea of like this weird relationship between Adam and Samus makes my blood boil just on a fundamental level, they could have shown it off more in this game. But even in this game, which is like an intermission, all the development happens off screen and they just talk about it like in the past tense.
You know what that is? Star Wars prequel.
It literally is. Like, I mean, with how much creative control Sakamoto had, he was literally doing his George Lucas of his career.
Hey, Anakin, remember when I saved you from that Bantha pit? Oh yeah, that was a cool.
So you might be annoyed with us talking over these cutscenes, but they say nothing dialogue. It's just Samus being like, Adam understands me more than anything.
No, email...
And they don't show it.
Email
they just say
Nintendo
it.
and tell them to put freaking subtitles in their 2010 games, okay? We should be able to talk over to it because subtitles exist.
Here's what we do know.
Next save point, I'll go out to the menu to see.
Are those people in front of Samus like the people from Federation Force?
No.
Okay.
These are Federation soldiers, but...
Well, not the exact people, but like this type of grunts or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, the lore of Metroid is so basic. You just have the generic Federation, and they're just the generic, like, lawful, authoritative force throughout the universe, I guess. And the Federation does bad stuff, like throughout Fusion, like all they do is bad, but you just gotta kind of have them exist, I guess.
Hey, guy who shot 500 shots at one little thing.
Dude, they're going over all these characters. I've beaten this game like twice and probably started it like 10 times. Other than Anthony, I don't remember any character.
James the Manlet.
These are like the most generic names and...
Whoa! Super Manlet! HG, get out of here! Even if I was paying attention, I'd be like... You know, every time we're talking during stuff, especially in cutscenes, you know what I think of? Philips CDI game of Titanic where literally 3 people commented on like, why are you talking during it? I want to hear them talk about the Titanic.
Yeah, I'd rather hear about the Titanic than anything in this game.
I still think about that. People being like, happening upon that video randomly and being like, oh, you guys suck. You're talking during this video.
That is true. We both suck and we talk a lot.
Both are true, but like, what are you, that big of a Jean-Luc Picard fan? You're like, whoa, he talked about the Titanic one time, guys.
And you just know that there's other videos of it probably completely uninterrupted by anything.
Dude, I mean, there was so much content, it would take literally hours for him to say every word. Damn. The Philips CDI rules.
I want you all to be especially careful as you execute your missions. That's the end of the briefing.
Thumbs down, do it.
First joint mission I've been a part of since
Please
becoming
don't
a
do it.
freelance bounty hunter. And of course, it was the first time since my Federation days that I was following the orders of a commanding officer. Having received mission orders from Adam, I felt confused and strangely exhilarated at the unexpected turn of events.
She's just explaining her feelings. It's the worst script.
So at this point, she's been through at least 3 major confrontations, right? Metroid, Metroid 2, and Super Metroid?
If we get past, if we do a full sit down, they'll go more into her, like, emotional, like, baggage.
Right.
It is the worst thing in the world.
Okay, but she has been through, like, this takes place after Super Metroid, you said, for sure.
Yeah, she definitely did Metroid 1,
Okay.
Metroid 2, and Super Metroid.
Okay, so she's, like, very seasoned. Like, she's, like, Solid Snake level, right? Like, she's been through a lot.
Yeah, I mean, basically the same amount of experience as Solid Snake.
Snake. Samus had a hard life.
Do I have to quit out the entire game?
Oh, so big.
I'm scared because, oh, it's not even letting me. That's interesting. Well.
What are you scared of?
So before we started, I actually quit out of Other M to go to the Wii menu, and it hard locked my Wii U.
Oh.
It's the first time I've ever seen that happen, and it was just, I don't know. I was gonna bring it up earlier, but I forgot until right now.
You could just turn off the Wii U system, right?
Yeah, I had to pull the power plug.
Wow. No, I meant to, like, check for the subtitle whatever thing.
I could turn it off. Do I have bombs? Okay.
Oh, you're allowed to use bombs now?
Yeah, so
nice.
A very annoying thing about this game is that because this takes place after Super Metroid, and they didn't conceive of a excuse to rob Samus of all her power-ups, she literally has all of her power-ups already, but Adam won't authorize the use of them for some reason. So she literally has the power bomb and, like, the plasma beam and literally everything already.
So she'd be like, hey,
she has the screw attack and the space jump, which is basically infinite height, and screw attack is, like, the strongest thing ever.
So she could be like, hey, there's this huge thing I need to defeat. Can I use my super jump?
Yeah.
And she'd be like, no.
So the worst example, just in case we don't do enough sit-downs to see it, there's a portion where you go into the lava part of this station, and you have to go through these rooms of lava, and you are constantly taking damage because of the heat of the room. But the thing is that Samus has the Varia suit already, and the Varia suit has always been the thing to get through superheated places. And she just doesn't use it until Adam arbitrarily just says, you can use it now.
That's awesome.
And you have to go through, like, half of it before he even bothers to say anything. It's just one of those times where I think the real reason people were so mad at this game is that not only is, like, Samus not the character that fans thought she was, according to Sakamoto, but you feel like you aren't in control of her either, because you aren't even finding power-ups, you're just getting authorized to use them by Adam. And it's like, if you're making this story about Adam and how he's awesome and how you should like him, they did it in the worst possible way. They did everything in their power to make you hate Adam, just like in Fusion.
What if Samus...
Alright, I'll turn off this stupid video.
What if Samus was the bad guy all along? You know what I'd really like in Metroid Dread? Alright, follow me here. I would like it if they showed us the opposite point of view of the Metroid, okay? And you play as the Metroid for about half the game, and then you see how Samus actually is a cold-blooded killer because it killed all the Metroid's family.
So there is an interesting theory going around for Dread of they did confirm that the X might be still alive in Dread, which the X are the main thread in Fusion, which can copy like any organism, including Samus, which there's like a literally Samus's power suit running around is the main enemy of Fusion, which is awesome. But there's a theory that maybe the Samus you're playing in Dread is a Samus X clone. And if they did that, if that was a twist, I would be like, bravo, Sakamoto. That's actually awesome. I don't think they're going to do it.
Brava!
Because that's too clever for the series, but...
What if it just didn't want you to play? If it was like, no, you can't start. Sorry. Don't forget, allow adequate room around you during play. I just want to smack someone with a Wii remote now. Ugh!
It'd be awesome.